Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. Just going to give everybody a few moments to filter in and get situated. Thanks for your patience. If you're just coming in, welcome. Just going to give it one more minute and then we will get started. Thanks. Alrighty, looks like we are ready to go. Thank you so much for joining us. Really thrilled that you're here. We have a great webinar in store for you today. If any questions do arise during the presentation, please feel free to just drop those in the question box on the right-hand control panel, and we will be sure to get those answered for you. Sit back and enjoy the webinar. I'm going to pass it over to Joe.
Thank you so much, Madison, and thank you everybody for joining us for this webinar today, which I have really entitled in such a way that I designed it to be empowering to you. What I want you to walk away from this webinar with is the idea that, yeah, I could just quickly and easily do something that would be custom in the AttackIQ platform, and that's why I've entitled it, You Can Do That Too. That's the whole idea of this. So who am I? Why are you listening to me? My name is Joe Mastromarino. I'm the Director of Sales Engineering for North America here at AttackIQ. I've been at AttackIQ for about 2.5-ish years, roughly 20 years in the industry or so, most of that in the information security space in some way, shape, or form. I have also been on the other side of the table at times. I have been a customer at times, so I get what y'all are going through as well. I've really taken on a lot of these different capabilities of red teaming, blue teaming. So I really like that whole concept of purple teaming, and a big part of why I'm here at AttackIQ today. So here's going to be the talk track for this webinar today. What I want to talk about is what problems we can solve with customization in the AttackIQ platform. I want to talk about some of the benefits that you can get from customization, a few examples of customization in the AttackIQ platform, and then of course I'm going to do a demonstration of that content customization at a few different levels. One of the things that I would like to say is what this webinar is not. So there is, if you've ever spoken with us before or looked at us before, there is a whole wizard that can be used for custom scenario development in Python, and that's just building one up entirely from the ground. With this webinar, and I'm probably actually going to make this into a series, because as I started diving into it, I realized there was so much that we could really get into, and I wanted to make this as digestible as possible. This is designed to be really easy to get into, and we're not going to be touching that Python scenario wizard at all. But we can still show you a lot of powerful things that you can do in the platform very quickly. So what problems are we solving here? What it is we're trying to do? We want to obviously get to the point where we can do some rapid customization, but there's a couple of things that are pulling at us here. One is that you may have content that you can't share, and that's a problem that you need to solve for, but you still need to be able to test for these things when you have an AttackIQ tenant. You can't necessarily wait for a release to test some really hot intel. You might have just gotten something. Of course, that plays in with the stuff that you can't share. So you may just want to test this thing as soon as it drops. I have a really quick file hash that I want to use, or I have just something really, really fast that I want to test for maybe that day that I can't necessarily wait through. And we have a rapid sprint cycle that we follow when we release content. And of course, we respond to CISA alerts, those high CISA alerts we respond to within 24 hours for content. But there may just be something that you see that you want to work through. That earlier mentioned Python development scenario wizard, that might take too many cycles, and you just have something you want to test out quickly. Or you may have content that is very specific to you, your company, your industry. So you may have stuff that you just want to say, yeah, I want to grab a quick test for this. I don't necessarily want to spin up a whole bunch of development cycles, either on my end or partner's end or AttackIQ's end, but just help me through this. Now, of course, there are benefits that you can get from doing this. I have a couple of these that are just really bubble right up to the top for me. Of course, you can make custom content quickly. I'm going to show you how you can do that in a matter of minutes here in the AttackIQ platform. You can test out those IOCs, those TTPs that maybe only you have seen. And if you want to take a quick remediation, test a remediation quickly from a recent red team test, or heaven forbid, a recent incident, and you have those IOCs, those TTPs, you want to test for that quickly, this is what enables you to do that. The fact that we have all these capabilities already built into the platform, and it may just be sitting right there, right in front of you. I'm going to take a couple of quick example use cases for the course of this demonstration today. I want to take just 3. And we can spider out a little bit into some others, but really I want to focus on these 3. And like I was saying, I want to make this into a bit more of a series because there's so many more of these that we can do, and I'm so excited to share them with you. One of the ones I'm going to tackle here today is DLP your way. So we have lots of great examples of DLP scenarios already in platforms of testing out your data loss prevention solution. Is this thing actually doing what we said it was going to do? Is the policy properly set for the type of data that we have? You may have some custom commands or custom scripts, things that you have written, things that you have seen, and we have lots of content already in the platform for that, but there might be something very specific to you. You just want to say, yeah, I want to run this really, really quickly and see how it plays out. Or you could be taking something from another great repository in the Atomic Red Team tests and all of those that are out there. And I can show an example of that as well, and how quickly we can just assimilate that right into the platform and begin to run it so that you can get some results back from it. The idea is that this DLP, these custom commands, these Atomic Red Team tests, I can take all of these, I can place them into one grouping of these scenarios together, which is what we call an assessment. I could run all of this custom content together and see how that would work out for me. I can put them into individual plans. I can put them into what we call an attacker graph, where we sequence these things together with other attacker behavior. And this is what we're going to look at today. Before I get into the demonstration, I'm just going to give you an idea, if you haven't seen it before, what our product portfolio looks like, and then we'll get into the live demo and make some custom things. Our product portfolio consists of 3 main offerings. One of them being Flex. And Flex is an agentless test as a service. Really, there's no agents involved here. You download the packages that you need, you run them on the boxes that you need to, you upload the results right into an AttackIQ portal, and then we have a system where you would pay for the reports that you're going to get back based off of what you run, whether it's an endpoint-based test, a network-based one, emulating a piece of ransomware or a threat actor campaign. This content is just easy for you to grab, put in a box, and go. And it's designed to be very, very easy to get yourself into. The Ready service, this is much more of a service. That's why we say that there, because what's happening is that we're going to, whether you're going to select a box and say, I want to run things from here. Here's a series of tests that we're going to run for you. We're going to do that on a regularly scheduled basis. You work with us on what that schedule is, and then we give you back the results, and then you see all of those results and you act on those. Both of these are really just the offering is right there in front of you. It's what you have, what you see is what you get, but you get a lot of really good content out of it. And then finally, what we're going to be looking at today is the AttackIQ Enterprise Platform. And this is what's going to allow you the largest amount of flexibility, customizability, all the things that I'm talking about here today. We're going to be doing all of this in the Enterprise Platform. So I'm now going to move over into my demonstration environment. I'm just going to pause this screen for 1 second and move over to my demonstration environment. There we go. And let's bring this back up here. Okay, great. So now we are in the AttackIQ platform. If you have never seen the AttackIQ platform, maybe unaware of what the infrastructure looks like, this right here is the home page of AttackIQ and the management platform. The whole concept of this platform is breach attack simulation. So let's take some hosts, some endpoints that are in your environment and try to run some attacks against them. Whether or not we are able to be stopped or be successful in our job, that's prevention. Are you able to stop these attacks? We also have integrations, and you can see already the assets that are over here. These are the different types of boxes that I have in this environment. The integrations, so what other technologies, after we run these attacks, can we ask questions? Let me ask a question of my endpoint security control. Did you see the attacks that we just ran? Let me run a query against the log sources for my firewall or my proxy or my content filtering and say whether or not I saw that network traffic to that malicious looking address or that malicious file download and get us back some detections. That's the whole concept of this platform, is we run attacks safely within your environment because we're operating on production machines. And every one of these scenarios, as we call them, we clean ourselves up afterwards. So we clean up after ourselves, rather. And what we're doing there is, let's take this scenario, that scenario. We wrote a file, we created a registry key, we started a process. We remove, back out, restore all of those things that we did once we're completed. And then we don't leave anything behind afterwards. Of course, we're going to create some logs and alerts. That's the whole point of doing this. We want to help you validate your security control stack and all the policies that are there. So with all of that in mind, we have content that goes along with the platform. We have these scenarios. The scenarios are the individual actions that you can take on each of these test points, these agents. And then we have these assessments. And these assessments, think of this relationship like the scenarios being the ingredients and the assessments being the recipes. These are all the ways that we're going to use all of these scenarios together to make one of these use cases. So as I take a look at this, I'm going to take a look at the scenario library as it is. So where's my scenario library? Here it is. So there are over 4,000 different attack scenarios in the AttackIQ platform today. Your eyes may immediately go to the color here that's on the screen and these blue C's that are over here. These are all custom scenarios. These are ones that I wrote really for this webinar here today. Now I can filter for specifically the scenario content that comes right from the factory. So I can just remove all of those for a minute. And I can take a look at all of these different attack scenarios that are here. I can look for something like let's take this web request communication, for instance. I click on this one right here. All of these scenarios, what they are doing is, first, they're going to give you a plain English language description of what each of these scenarios is and does. What does this, how does this scenario work? What are the different ways, by the way, because now you're going to see this word parameter pop up a whole lot. And what you can do with this is you can take all the information about the parameters and you can go over to the parameters section that's over here. And the way that we define these parameters is that we make them so that you can customize these attack scenarios. Here we go. Now we're getting into the customization of the content. So I can change these any way that I want and then save them and make my own scenario afterwards. This happens on many of these scenarios here, especially the ones where you have this little crown icon up here. This denotes a scenario template. So there are other scenarios that are built off of this one. If you're just getting started and you want to see some inspiration for how did AttackIQ do this? How did they use this scenario to build out something custom? You can take a look in the models section. It's right over here. And this will tell you, hey, let me take a look at this one right over here, this WannaCry ransomware kill switch request web communication. I now click on that one and it brings me over to that same scenario template, but now it's built specifically with this in mind. I take a look at the parameters and I can see the way that we designed this one to run. So it makes it very easy for me to be able to see all of this information here. And I can see that the ransomware family tag has been altered here. There are different ways that we can alter the tags to help you to find whether or not this content matches up with your particular use case. And close out of that for a second and bring myself back over here. So now the custom ones that I had in here, I had thought of a couple of different things that I had wanted to do. One of them being that I wanted to do something related to data loss prevention. So I wanted to create a new data loss prevention one. I'm going to keep this filter here because I wanted to start from, essentially start from scratch here, right? So let's take a look at data exfiltration. And let's take a look at exfiltration. There we go. Oh, yeah, exfiltrate files over HTTP. That's the one I was looking for. There we go. So you see we have a number of different ways to do exfiltration of files. That's what I'm testing here is that DLP. And we can use HTTP, we can use SFTP, we can use ICMP, we can use DNS records. I can use email as well. So there's a lot of different ways that I can create this. I'm just going to use this one here as my example. So I click on this scenario once. Again, it shows me all of the different information that I need for how do I set this scenario up based on the parameters that I see. I take a look at the parameters. I love picking on this DLP one because it has a lot of really good and powerful options that I can choose. In this case, I'm going to have the platform automatically generate me a file. Now, this is the file that will then be used when I try to exfiltrate data. What does this file look like? Well, that's when I come down here and I take a look at the template. I can choose either to have the platform generate me something that looks like credit cards or social security numbers or personal data, or hey, let's do something custom. It's the whole theme of this, right? So let's do some custom data here. I can create a custom data model right here inside of the AttackIQ platform. So let's do that. I'm going to have one that has, let's call it 5 fields. So I'm going to go first name. I'm going to go last name. I'm going to go, let's see, let's create a credit card number. And let's go with the expiration. And let's go with the CVV. Make some real nice data here. What file format do we want to run this in? I'm going to have this run out in let's run this out in a CSV format. I'm going to have, let's call it 15 records here. Maybe this is just a small one. I can choose whether or not I can do compression and encryption. I'm going to leave this out for now, and I'll put this in. I can do another iteration of this exact same scenario, except I have one without compression, then one with encryption, then one with compression. The exfiltration configuration, we're going to leave this exactly as it is. I can choose to validate the exfiltration, or I could choose not to. What's interesting when I choose not to is that if you have a custom internal server somewhere that you're like, I want to test out getting data over here, you uncheck that box, you go over here and you say, I want to run this over to my internal server, and then say exactly where I want that to go. But by default, it'll just go to our infrastructure so we can quickly and easily validate the exfiltration. So you can see already you have a lot of customizable capability within this scenario exactly as it is. And now I've done this the way that I want to have it done. I'm now going to save this as exfiltrate files over HTTP. I'll just call that 5cc fields with my name on it. And it's as easy as that. I could do more with that. So I could take another way of doing this. Let's take this exfiltrate files over HTTP again. Take a look at the parameters here. I have my own file that I want to use for this. I've seen this get out of my environment before. I don't want to see this get out again. Of course, I've completely changed all of the data so that there's nothing sensitive, but this file format got out before. I don't want to see this happen again. I can choose to add my own file. I'll do this right over here. Where's my my account info? Let's do this in the Excel format. Cool. Yeah, let's just use that one. If I want to see what that is, I of course can download and view that at any time. That little eyeball will just bring that file up for me, and I can change that whenever I like. Same concept applies here. I'm going to choose to compress it this time. That's how I saw it get out last time. I can choose the way that I want this to be compressed. So now I can save this one. So my exfiltrate files over HTTP, account files, and my name on it again. So it makes it easier for me to find this later. So that's a couple of examples of what I've done with DLP. Let's move on to something that would look more like custom scripting. So to that end, what I will do is I will take a look at, there's another really powerful scenario here called script execution. This is another super powerful scenario template. And this one has a lot of really good options in it. Again, as a reminder, if I want to see some examples of how AttackIQ did this, I can take a look at the models at any time. Take a look at this path interception script, for instance. And I can see the different ways that AttackIQ has used this to create content for me. I always say, by and large, the content that you're looking for is probably going to be here somewhere. And if it's not, then some tunes and tweaks to some of the content that's already here, it's probably going to get you where you want to be. So let's move out of this for a second and get back over to the other scenario we were just working with. Let me get back to my overview over here. Now, the concept that I have here, and this is brought to me, this is another use case I was working on with another customer that they wanted to be able to see very quickly in a cute little PowerShell script that they had, that they wanted to be able to run and see, okay, what's the account that I'm working on right now, and what GPOs do I have access to? So you can write a very quick PowerShell script to do that, and then you can run this inside of the AttackIQ platform. And even after you get that output, there's nothing else really to clean up afterwards. So we can take a look at that. I have the parameters that I need to fill in here. For this one, what you need is the script file, if there's any support files that go along with that, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's start with the script file right over here. Where's my script file? So I'm going to take, it's going to be this one right over here, my user gpos.ps1. That's my PowerShell script. I'm going to open that guy up. Goes right in there, no problem. You have other options in here too. There's more stuff you can do. By default, we are going to create and work inside of a directory that is going to be outside of whatever whitelist area we have for defined for EDR, so we can stage stuff, but we always work outside of there. If you want to work inside of a very custom working directory, you can absolutely do that, no problem. It matches up more closely with maybe what you've seen before, maybe what happened during your red team exercise. You say what the interpreter is going to be. So in this case, it's going to be, this is going to be a PowerShell one. So I'm going to go PowerShell.exe. What platform are we going to run this on? Because you can choose to run this however you want. What platform do we need to run this on? What interpreter is this going to run in? If I wanted to put a script hash in there to validate the integrity of the file before I run it, go for it. Also, how do I check for success? How do I know that I was successful in doing this? I can very quickly and easily just check a script exit code, make it a code of 0 that says that this is successful and good, or I can choose to check for a known pattern. If I'm looking for something to come in standard out that says, yeah, I need to be able to see when it has this particular test pattern, put a regular expression in there or something like that for it, I can take a look for that and see what it is. And if I want to create some type of custom cleanup command for this, I can choose to do that as well. So within only a couple of minutes, I've shown you a couple of different ways that you can quickly and easily customize this the way that you want. You didn't have to open up the Python IDE, none of the wizards or anything, just take your script, here it is, this is how you're gonna run it, go. Very easy. So now that I've done this, I would want to, again, save this as my own scenario. So this is going to be script execution. This is going to be tests for GPOs, and again with my name on it. And we save another scenario. I'm going to do my best infomercial right now and say, but wait, there's more, because you can do this same type of thing. I just did a PowerShell. Great, I do a PowerShell, but I also get asked, can we do this more in a more in a kind of sneakier way. And yeah, we could do that because I can also do an encoded PowerShell command. So there's another whole scenario that will allow you to do that in a much more obscure fashion. Great. How do I do that? Take a look over to my parameters section. I'm going to grab that PowerShell script. Where is that PowerShell script? I should have this right over here in my demo section. Great. User GPOs.ps1. I'm going to open this up in something else. Let's open this up right over here. There we go. I want that. Fantastic. Grab this little script right here and pop this PowerShell script right in over here. No problem. See, there's my script. There it is, not hiding anything from you. And you have the options here of what you want to put in for parameters on this. I'm going to leave this exactly the way that it is. And again, save this exactly the way that I want. And we're going to, again, test for GPOs with my name on it. Cool. Save that. I continue to build more and more of these ingredients. This is all just stuff that I had that I can continue to look around and see if I can find it, or I could just quickly and easily do this inside of the platform. Last thing that I wanted to build here before we start to take a look at how we put this into an assessment is going to be that atomic red team script. So there are lots of things in the atomic red team that you can make use of. And one of the things that I was looking at here was specifically, I'm going to bring this tab right over to the screen here, is I was looking at one TTP in particular. Let me just bring this over to here. There we go. I was looking at these group policy modifications, this T1484.001, and could I do that here within the platform? So I take a look at the description of this. I do like these a lot because they do have some really good atomic tests that you can bring in. There's lots of this stuff already built into the platform, but if you're already accustomed to using this and you want to try to bring some of the stuff over into AttackIQ, we make it so easy for you to do this. So this is the file that's describing exactly what the attack is going to be and what all the tests are going to be, and of course how we clean up after ourselves. This one does it two different ways. It does it with the command shell, and then it also does the same thing with PowerShell. Now we do also have ways of being able to modify the registry and other ways here in AttackIQ, but I wanted to be able to show this as a quick and easy way that you can bring in these atomic red team scenarios. So when I take a look back at the content that's over here again, I have two different ways of looking at this, and I'm going to show you another way of looking at it that's also going to give you a helping hand. When I'm in the AttackIQ platform, there is another whole concept here that is called blueprints. I take a look at these blueprint templates. I have quite a few different ways of doing things here. You can see already this atomic red team blueprint. What we do with these blueprints, I'll just start one here real quick. It's going to give you a complete workflow. Atomic red team for webinar. Create that blueprint. It now gives you this entire workflow, front to back. What is atomic red team? Where is it? How do I find it? How do I find the tests that I want? All of these things are going to show you where you can go, and these buttons will bring you directly to the places that you need to be to create the content that you need for this test. You bring in the use case that you want. You find the content that matches. This workflow will bring you all the way from beginning to end of creating that scenario, putting it into an assessment, running that assessment, and getting your results back. So this is all here for you. This is all part of the platform. What I'm going to show you is how you can just go ahead and do that. So I go back over into my scenario section. What I wanted to show you here is the fact that this tooling is all here. Back to atomic red team. So I look at my atomic red team script. I have a scenario already built for this, another scenario template. Do I have models built out for this? Of course I do. There's some stuff in here for sure. I take a look at this, and this again is going to describe how does this scenario work? How do I build this? How do I put stuff in here? I take a look in the parameters section. I need that YAML file, because all of those, when you take a look in the files over here, each one of these comes with the markdown is going to be the description of it, and then the YAML file is going to be the actual script for the attack. Look in these, make sure, and they should all have these cleanup commands that are in here. So just keep an eye out for that. But if you write your own, then also make sure that you have those cleanup commands in there. I'll show you why as we take a look at this content here, because I'm now going to add in the YAML file. So my T1484.001.YAML, open that guy up. So now that's in there. Test position is automatically to start at 0. You can choose to run this even if there's no cleanup action, although this is not checked by default because we always want to make sure that we're operating as safely as possible. You can also take a look at this. You can change any of these parameters or values if you needed to, but this is really all you needed to do to create a scenario that looks like this now. Now here's my atomic red team script for T1484.001 on myself. There we go. And now I have a scenario that does exactly that. So easy. I've already created now 3 different ways of customizing here in Platform. Each of these I was able to do in a matter of minutes. Now I can take a look at all of the content that's here. Let me remove that filter for a second and take a look at the content that I've just created, because I can continue to further organize this content here. For instance, I would want to take a look at this one right here. So I want to add some more tags to it. Just to add on some very quick tags, I can take a look at T1484 and T1484.001, add those onto there. I can add on whatever tags I want that will allow me to further organize the content here in the platform, whether it's a preset one in the platform or tags that I make on my own. More customization, very easy, already built in. So I can do that for all of the scenarios that I have here. Once I get to the point that I say, okay, great, I have enough custom content, let's start to build something with it, I can go right over into my assessment section here. And I want to build out a new assessment. I'm going to create a custom one. In each of these assessments, you have tests, and then in each of those tests come the scenarios. I can quickly add a test within that test and then go ahead and add scenarios. And I can already start to see that, yeah, since this was all last updated, this is all the content that I have here. It's as easy as I just click on all of the scenarios that I had here and add them all to the test. I do this for each of the individual tests, and then I go and I select the content and I run it. What I do want to show, really just in the interest of time, is that yes, I already have one built out for this, and I already have some of the results for this. So let's take a look at that. But just showing you that yes, you can grab all of this content that you just made, add it to whatever assessment you want. In this case, this is your custom assessment. Now I have one already built out for this purpose, and you see I already have preventions, this red and green, as well as the detections, the blue and purple. How did I build this one out? Well, I took a look at this and I saw 4 different things that I was doing here. The DLP, the demo account info, and the generated data. So you see, I did it a number of different ways here. Anytime I build one of these tests, I then just put the scenarios in it, and on the right-hand side, I have this way of managing the scenarios that's right over here. 3 different ways of doing this exfiltrate files over HTTP with my demo account info. I configure this. There's my demo account info scenario, my file. I don't have any encryption, no encoding on this one. So this one's pretty much stock standard the way it is. This one is going to be using an XOR encryption with a random encryption key. So this one's a little bit different. And then this one is going to be compressed using just a regular zip algorithm. So just a different permutation, combination, different ways I can do these things. And then the generated data, this is again all of the same content that I just put in here. So this was that first name, last name, credit card, and expiration. And the script execution, I did this the 2 different ways that we just talked about. So the encoded PowerShell as well as the PowerShell script that we could run there. So all of this is already here. And then finally, the atomic red team script. This one was here as well. So there's my atomic red team script for T1484.001. I take a look, there's my YAML file. Very easy for me to put all this stuff in. So regardless of where you're pulling this stuff in from, is the point that I'm trying to make here is how easy this all is to do. And then when I want to run this, it's as easy as go to the on-demand. Oh, apologize, I didn't tell you where this was running from. I have my assets right down here. I select where I'm going to run these things from. I select my assets from my asset pool. I'm running this on one host that has an endpoint security control and one that does not. So once I'm ready to go, I then choose this little on-demand section right over here. I choose to run this now, and yep, this is going to trigger some stuff here in my environment. It's going to trigger some alerts, alarms. It absolutely should. That's the point. That's what we're doing here, and see whether or not we find all of this custom stuff. You can choose to notify people that this is about to happen. This file right here will have a whole bunch of information related to the attacks that we're about to run. And I'll just go ahead and run that now, because why not? I can. But I'm going to review some results while we are waiting for this thing to run. I'm not going to sit here and watch this, even though this stuff would run pretty quickly. By and large, our scenarios take only a matter of seconds to run on average. I have run some results recently, so we can take a look at that and see how quickly and easily that all ran. So I ran these scenarios, and then I got back results. What was stopped, what wasn't. So like all of this exfiltration for the demo account info, but some of the generated data was stopped and some of it wasn't. I could take a look at all of these that are here. So I'll take a look at this one right here. I generated this file, and these HTTP requests were not blocked, and I got this file out. I take a look at the activity details here that yes, we created this file, we put it here, we posted this file out. This is where it went to on the AttackIQ side. And that, yeah, it was successful. And then when we went and go and look for the file, because that's how we do the validation, it's our endpoint, we say that, yeah, this actually happened here. I can take a look at my detection details and see whether or not this traffic actually occurred. I can see that over my panorama. So I can see that file did go out. And then of course we have some observables, the way that we ran this attack, how did this thing happen here, and the mitigations. Is there anything really that goes along with that? This one is fairly light in terms of the mitigations, because it's really just making sure that your DLP policies are up to date and functional. So the rest of these scenarios here, I can take a look at some of these other ones as well and see how these things ran. Where's one of my, yeah, there we go. So like I could take this encoded PowerShell script one that was here, and yes, this script ran successfully. I take a look at the details here. Yeah, it ran as, right now it ran as system, and then there's really no other GPOs that are applied to that user, but I can go ahead and take a look at those. If I had, and I could run this as another user, so I could run this as another domain user, and then I would see all the GPOs applied to them, but it is indeed working. So it ran that, no problem. And then I can also take a look at the Atomic Red Team script and see how that operated. Where's that? Right over here. So my Atomic Red Team script. And then I can take a look at all of the results for that one as well. So you see it ran through all of these different commands. So it made all of the registry key changes, and then it went back and deleted all of those registry key changes. So it did everything that it needed to do. That's why it said that it was not prevented. So very easy for me to go in and just run all of this content, everything that I need to do in order to run all of this content here. I didn't have any detections for this. It didn't see it apparently. So it ran all of these different commands here. So that's me going through all of this, and this is all just different custom content. All of it took a matter of minutes for me to make. All of this is now available here in platform, and it took minimal effort to get all of this in. Probably the most coding I did for the preparation of this webinar was when I was writing out that PowerShell script to test the user account and the GPOs. It's really all I had to do. I am only scratching the surface of what we're able to do here, and just showing you how quickly and easily those scenarios will run. This stuff is already bringing me back results as I go through this. But yeah, this is a great way that you can get into custom content very quickly here on the platform. This is the latest run of what I'm doing right now. All of this has happened as I've been talking over the course of the last couple of minutes. Quick and easy way to take that content that you have, take that intelligence that you have, and bring it to bear. Bring it to a real test you can run against your assets very quickly. So this is really what I wanted to demonstrate today. I'm going to bring it back to my back to my presentation, my slides here. But yeah, definitely keep coming back for these, because I have a lot more of these different ways of making custom content here in the platform that I want to express to all of you. But I want to make this really digestible as much as I can. So I'm going to bring this back over to my presentation here so we can get into some resources and start to put a bow on this a little bit. So I'm going to go back into this one right here. And then from here, where we would go, there's some AttackIQ resources that you can absolutely leverage. One of them, and one of my favorites here, is the adversary research team here at AttackIQ. So even though you're making custom content, and even though we're making content, we are not going to take a break from ever really taking a look at all of those latest threats and bringing you actionable content in the form of these blog posts. We bring out more of these different types of assessments, and we have what we looked at today was an atomic assessment we could build out, and you see this on the graph right here. This represents an attack graph, building out a complete attack sequence from start to finish. We put all of those in the platform for you and give you the ability to make your own custom ones. We are constantly on the lookout for the latest threats in terms of different types of threat actor campaigns, malware, ransomware, whatever we can make actionable for you here on the platform, we will continue to do that for you. And that's what the adversary research team is, and that's what they're designed to do. Yeah, these are security experts, malware reverse engineers, incident responders, red teamers, all people that you want synthesizing this cyber threat intelligence into actionable content for you. That's why they're here, and a great benefit to you as an AttackIQ customer. Whether or not you're an AttackIQ customer, take advantage of the AttackIQ Academy. Go here at academy.attackiq.com. Absolutely free, high quality, instructor-led training that you can take in a series of different tracks. Whether or not it's something that's related directly to AttackIQ, there are other different types of things that we can do in here as well. We work very closely with the MITRE Ingenuity Center for Threat Informed Defense. So you will see a lot of MITRE content in here as well, a lot of attack content in here. And the content that you take, the courses that you take, these can be applied to CPEs for your certifications. And again, all completely free. Definitely take advantage of that. So we have that, we have the resources there, we have Academy there, we have our YouTube channel there, we have our podcast there, we have all of our ebooks that are there. Leverage all of these things. These are all here for you because we also love to give back to the community as well. It's a big part of our charge. And that's really all the content that I wanted to go through here today. I really hope you got a lot out of this, and I hope you're also energized to go and try to tackle some more of these things yourself, and be on the lookout for more webinars like this, because I want to continue doing these. Knowing that we have a couple of minutes left, I haven't been keeping too close of an eye on the chat box of the questions. Madison, did we have any questions come in over the course of this talk?
No questions right now, Joe, but maybe we give it a moment and see if any do pop up.
Absolutely. Oh, see a question here. Okay, so the question is, while creating an assessment, when editing one of the applied scenarios, for example, the parameters from within that assessment test page, you know what? Let's go right over to that and bring you right to that page. So let's do that live right in front of you. So while creating an assessment, when editing one of the applied scenarios, so you have the scenario already, so it's already in there. From that assessments test page, will that update overwrite the original scenario that you had previously saved in your library? Let's do that. So I'm going to take a look at one of these DLP ones that's right over here. We manage the scenarios that are in here because I assume that's the direction we're taking here. I'll take a look at one of these scenarios that's right over here because, and this is a good example of that, because I have three different copies of the exact same scenario here. That's how I did this. And then when I started to change some of the parameters around, what I did was I configured this scenario. I changed what I wanted to be able to do. Let's say in this case, I want to do base 64 encoding instead of the no encoding. I have two different options at the bottom of the screen here. One of these is to apply. What the apply button does is it saves this instance of this scenario right here. It does not overwrite the scenario that I have in my library. And then when I go back to the configuration, it'll say that it's base 64 right there. The other option that I have is to do a save as. When I click that save as, it gives me that same view that I had before when I was editing that scenario template and I wanted to save it as a new one. I now have the ability to do that and say, now this one is going to go base 64. Now I have a whole nother scenario that's based off of that. So it did not overwrite the original scenario. In both of these cases, what I did one time was I edited the way that it's going to execute in the context of this assessment only. That's the apply button. And then when I did the save as, I have a completely different scenario that I'm now going to be able to apply to other scenarios. So no, I did not overwrite the originally previous saved scenario in my library. Can I go back and edit the scenario in my library? Yes, but I would do that in my library, not in the context of an assessment where that scenario has been applied. And I hope that answers your question. And thank you, Alejandro. It was my pleasure to present to you.
Thanks, Joe. I don't think we're seeing any other questions right now. So I think we may be good to wrap up here for today.
All right, sounds good.
Yes, thank you so much, Joe, for the amazing webinar, and thank you all for joining. Like Joe said, keep an eye out for more of these coming soon. And thanks so much for joining. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Be well.